Let's look at two different nights in two different living rooms. The first living room belongs to someone making $110,000 a year. They are sitting on their couch at p.m., scrolling through their phone. They see an ad for a new smartwatch. They click it. Their phone scans their face, double-clicks the side button, and within 3 seconds, $250 is gone from their bank account. The item ships tomorrow. They barely even registered that they spent money. It felt like playing a video game. The second living room belongs to someone making $60,000 a year. They see the exact same ad. They click it. They decide they want it. But when they go to check out, the screen asks for their 16-digit credit card number, the expiration date, and the security code. Their wallet is upstairs on the kitchen counter. They think about walking up the stairs, finding the wallet, bringing it back down, and typing all those numbers. They sigh, close the app, and go to sleep. They wake up the next morning with $250 still in their bank account, and they completely forgot about the watch. Same mad, same initial desire. But the person making almost half the income kept their money simply because of one tiny, almost invisible barrier. This is not a story about who has better self-control. It is a story about the hidden architecture of modern spending that most people never notice. Today, I want to walk you through 10 completely unsexy, boring habits that actually save serious money every single time. These are the defensive moves that keep your money yours. And the very first one starts with understanding how the world is designed to drain your pockets without you feeling a thing. Think about how shopping used to work. You had to drive to a store, walk through the aisles, pick up a physical item, stand in a line, and physically hand over paper money. Every single step was a chance for your brain to say, wait, do I actually need this? Now look at the modern world. Apple Pay, Google Wallet, one-click ordering on Amazon, autofill credit cards in your browser. Technology has made spending money the easiest thing you can do in your entire day. It is easier to spend $100 than it is to tie your shoes. There is a famous behavioral economist named Dan Ariely who studied something called the pain of paying. He found that when human beings physically hand over cash, the brain actually registers it as physical pain. It hurts to see your money leave your hands. That pain is a natural defense mechanism. It stops you from making stupid financial decisions. But companies know this, so they spent billions of dollars to remove the pain. When you just double-click a button on your phone, your brain does not register pain. It registers a quick hit of dopamine. You get the thrill of buying without the sting of losing money. This brings us to the very first unsexy habit. Habit 1. Manually delete all saved payment methods from your devices. Go into your phone settings right now and remove your credit cards from your digital wallet. Go to your web browser and delete the autofill card numbers. Go to your Amazon account and turn off one-click buying. Remove your card from Uber Eats, DoorDash, and every single app that makes buying instant. This sounds incredibly annoying, and that is exactly the point. You want to engineer friction into your life. Friction is the physical gap between wanting something and actually buying it. When you have to physically get up off the couch, find your wallet, pull out the card, and type in 16 numbers, you give your brain time to wake up. In that 1 minute of typing, the rational part of your brain catches up to the emotional part. You start thinking, is this $40 hoodie really worth the effort right now? Most of the time, the honest answer is no. The goal here is not to stop buying things you actually need. If you truly need groceries or a new pair of work shoes, walking upstairs to get your wallet will not stop you. You will do the work because the need is real. But if it is just a late-night impulse fueled by boredom, that tiny bit of friction will save you hundreds of dollars every single month. By removing convenience, you reclaim your purchasing power. You stop letting algorithms decide when you spend money, and you force yourself to make an active, conscious choice every single time a dollar leaves your account. Making it physically harder to spend is the perfect defense against sudden impulses. But what happens when the urge to buy something survives that initial friction and sticks in your head for days? That is where the digital world sets its next trap, waiting to drain your dopamine. When you see an item online, your brain floods with dopamine. It is the chemical of desire. Your brain wants the reward right now. If you deleted your saved cards like we talked about, you survived the first wave, but the desire is still there. Your brain starts making excuses. It tells you that you deserve the shoes, or that the sale is ending soon, or that it will make you more productive. This is called decision fatigue. Your willpower drains completely as the day goes on. By the evening, your brain just wants the easy reward. Relying on your daily willpower to fight this chemical reaction is a mathematical guarantee to fail. You cannot outsmart your own biology every single day. Instead, you have to build a rigid, unsexy system to handle it for you. This brings us to Rule 2, the 72-hour cart abandonment rule. Whenever you want to buy something online that is not an absolute necessity like food or medicine, you put it in the digital shopping cart, and then you simply close the tab. You force a 3-day cooling-off period. You do not say no to yourself. You just say, not right now. This completely removes the feeling of deprivation. Your brain still gets a tiny hit of dopamine just by putting the item in the cart. But over the next 72 hours, something fascinating happens. The dopamine spike drops flat. The emotional high high of the marketing fades away. By day 3, you look at that $150 jacket in your cart and you see it for what it actually is. It is just fabric. It is not going to change your life. Data shows that simply waiting 72 hours eliminates roughly 70% of all impulse buys. You do not have to fight the urge. You just let the clock do the heavy lifting. For you, while the 72-hour rule protects you from active spending, there is a completely different kind of theft happening in the background. It is a silent drain, and it does not require your dopamine at all. It requires your absolute ignorance. Let me share a story about a guy who tracked his expenses in his head. If you asked him how much he spent on monthly subscriptions, he would confidently say about $50. He knew he had Netflix and Spotify. That was it. One day, he actually sat down and looked at his bank statement. He found the Netflix and Spotify, but he also found an $18 charge for a fitness app he stopped using last year. He found $15 for extra cloud storage he forgot he upgraded. He found a $10 Patreon charge for a podcast he no longer listened to. He found a $40 annual fee for a premium shipping service that renewed automatically. His $50 estimate was actually $240 in real life. This is not an isolated mistake. Strict institutional data from financial white papers proves that the average consumer drastically underestimates their recurring costs. Companies love subscription models because human beings forget things. They count on you signing up for a free trial and forgetting to cancel. They count on you ignoring the small $5 charges because they feel harmless. This introduces Rule 3, the ghost subscription audit. Do not use a budgeting app to do this. Apps categorize things automatically, which means you still do not feel the pain of seeing the money leave. Instead, you do the most unsexy thing possible. You log into your bank account, you select the last 60 days of transactions, and you physically print out the paper statements. You sit down at your kitchen table with a red pen and a yellow highlighter. You go line by line. Every single transaction gets looked at. If it is a necessary bill like rent or electricity, you highlight it yellow. If it is a subscription, a membership, or an automatic charge that you did not actively choose to make that month, you circle it in red. When you see the red circles physically printed on paper, the illusion shatters. You realize you are paying for services that bring zero value to your life. The fix is immediate. You take your phone, you log into those services, and you cancel every single red circle. This one boring hour at your kitchen table instantly reclaims capital that you can redirect toward your actual freedom. But digital spending and ghost subscriptions are only part of the battle. The most expensive trap you walk into every week does not happen online. It happens under bright fluorescent lights, with a shopping cart in your hands, surrounded by food you do not actually need. Let's walk away from the digital traps of your phone and step into a place where the psychological warfare is physical. It is an environment designed to make you feel comfortable while simultaneously breaking down your budget defenses. It is the modern supermarket, and it functions exactly like a casino. Think about the layout. You walk through the automatic doors, and the first thing you usually see is the bakery or the floral department. This is not an accident. Bright colors and the smell of fresh bread trigger your salivary glands and put you in a good mood. They lower your resistance immediately. The essential items you actually came for, like milk and eggs, are always located at the very back of the store. This forces you to walk past thousands of brightly colored packages designed by teams of psychologists to grab your attention. They place high-profit items at eye level, especially the sugary cereals right at the eye level of children sitting in the cart. They play slow music to make you walk slower, and the checkout line is the final trap, lined with candy, magazines, and cold drinks designed for the exact moment your decision fatigue is at its absolute peak. Most people walk in for a $20 run and walk out with $85 of stuff they did not plan to buy. It is not because they lack discipline. It is because they are fighting a billion-dollar industry that knows exactly how their brain works. When you buy food impulsively, you don't just spend money. You usually end up throwing a large portion of it away when it goes bad. Food waste is not just a loss of food. It is literally taking future investment capital, letting it rot in your crisper drawer, and throwing it in the garbage. Every dollar you spend on impulse junk food is a dollar that cannot go into an index fund to buy your freedom. This brings us to a radical, unsexy defense mechanism. Rule 4, the cash-only grocery barrier. This is the most powerful weapon against the supermarket casino. Before you go shopping, you determine your absolute budget. Let's say it is $150. You go to an ATM and withdraw exactly $150 in physical cash. Then you leave your debit card and credit cards locked in the glove box of your car. You walk into the store with nothing but the cash in your pocket. This changes everything. You can no longer rely on the infinite swipe of plastic. As you walk through the aisles, you have to constantly run a running total in your head. When you pick up a bag of name brand chips, you have to mentally subtract $6 from your physical pile of money. The real magic happens at the checkout line. Imagine standing there with only a $100 bill in your hand, watching the total climb to $80, $90, $95. The anxiety spikes. You realize you have a frozen pizza and an expensive craft soda in your cart that you don't actually need, and you still haven't scanned the chicken. For dinner, you are forced to look at the cashier and say, "Actually, I need to put this pizza and the soda back." It feels slightly embarrassing the first time. It is anxiety-inducing. But when you walk out of the store having spent exactly what you planned, with zero impulse items, that anxiety turns into an incredible feeling of liberation. You beat the casino. The cash barrier completely destroys the ability to overspend. While the cash barrier protects the total amount you spend, you also need to optimize the actual items you place in the cart. Most people are deeply loyal to specific brands. They buy the exact same peanut butter or the exact same paper towels every single time because it is what they grew up with. They believe the expensive label guarantees higher quality. This leads to Rule 5, the generic brand blind test. We need to break the brand loyalty illusion. The reality of the supply chain is shocking. If you look at the deep analysis of manufacturing, roughly 80% of store brand generic items roll off the exact same manufacturing belts as the premium name brands. The factory simply switches the label at the end of the line. The premium brand charges you 40% more to pay for their massive marketing budget. You are literally paying for the television commercials you skip. The next time you go grocery shopping, intentionally buy the generic store brand for 3 items you usually buy premium. It could be flour, rice, canned beans, or cleaning supplies. Take them home and use them. For the vast majority of these items, you will not notice a single difference in quality, but you will immediately notice the 30% reduction in your grocery bill. Systematically replacing premium brands with generics is an unsexy habit that permanently lowers your baseline living costs without changing your lifestyle at all. We have secured the groceries, but the biggest leaks in your budget often happen long after the food is eaten. They happen in your closet, in your garage, and in the everyday items you use to build your life. Modern society has trained us to love a bargain. We see a pair of shoes for $30 or a winter jacket for $40, and our brain immediately registers it as a massive win. We call it fast fashion or discount shopping. But there is a huge difference between buying something cheap and buying something valuable. If you look at the research in the famous book The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley, you will find a surprising truth about how actual, self-made multimillionaires spend their money. They almost never buy disposable, cheap items. You will rarely see them in fast fashion stores. Instead, they buy unsexy, high-quality goods that last for decades. They do not do this because they want to show off their wealth. They do it because they deeply understand the math of time. This introduces Rule 6, the cost per use mathematical principle. Most people only look at the initial price tag. If jacket A is $40 and jacket B is $200, jacket A looks cheaper. But that is the wrong math entirely. You have to divide the purchase price by the number of times you will actually use the item. If you buy that $40 trendy jacket, wear it twice for a couple of events, and then it goes out of style or the zipper breaks, that jacket cost you $20 per wear. If you buy the boring, classic $200 jacket and wear it 200 times over the next 5 years, that jacket cost you $1 per wear. The $40 jacket is not cheaper. It is mathematically 20 times more expensive. Look at this through a 10-year future term plan. Imagine buying a cheap $50 pair of work boots. They wear out completely in 12 months. Over 10 years, you buy 10 pairs. You have spent $500 and your feet hurt every single winter because the boots are low quality. Now imagine buying a $250 pair of high-quality, repairable boots. They last the entire 10 years with basic care. You just saved $250, you kept yourself out of the endless consumer cycle, and you enjoyed a premium product the entire time. Buying cheap things over and over again is a luxury that only broke people try to afford. Rich people buy things once. Applying the cost per use math stops you from buying low-quality trash. But what about the things you already own? What about the items sitting inside your house right now that you completely ignore because you are so used to buying new things? This brings us back to the kitchen for one of the most powerful, unsexy habits you can ever start. Rule 7, mastering the pantry foraging week. Think about your kitchen cabinets and your freezer right now. If you are like most people, you have a bag of frozen chicken breasts buried under some ice at the very back. You have 4 boxes of pasta, some canned beans from last year, frozen vegetables, and a random assortment of sauces. That is not just food, that is trapped financial capital. You spent your hard-earned money to bring those items into your house, and now they are just sitting there, losing value, while you go to the store to buy more. Here is the rule. 1 week every 2 months, you are not allowed to go to the grocery store. Zero grocery shopping. For exactly 7 days, you must construct every single meal using only what is already inside your deep freezer and the back of your pantry. The first 2 days are easy. By day 4, it gets slightly uncomfortable. You have to get creative. You might be eating rice, frozen peas, and an odd cut of meat for dinner. It is not glamorous at all. It is highly unsexy. But what you are actually doing is liquidating your hidden assets. By forcing yourself to consume what you already own, you completely eliminate food waste. You stop the endless cycle of buying more before before you finish what you have. And most importantly, you instantly free up your entire grocery budget for that specific week. If you normally spend $150 a week on food, the Pantry Foraging Week gives you a free $150 to sweep directly into your savings account. You literally paid yourself $150 just to clean out your own freezer. Extracting the maximum value from your food and your clothes is how you stop the daily bleeding. But saving money is not just about the things you eat and wear. The biggest financial emergencies usually come from the large machines that keep your life running, and ignoring them is a mistake that costs thousands. These machines are silent until they break, and when they do, they destroy your savings account in a single afternoon. This is where we shift from playing defense with your money to creating proactive leverage. When you ignore the things you already own, you trigger a negative lifestyle multiplier effect. A broken car does not just cost you a mechanic's bill. It costs you expensive towing fees, a rental car for the week, missed hours at work, and the massive stress of putting a sudden $3,000 charge on a credit card. This introduces Rule 8, treating preventative maintenance as a high-yield investment. Most people treat maintenance as an annoying chore. People who build wealth treat it as an investment with a mathematically guaranteed return. Let me give you the direct explanation of how this works. An air filter for your home heating and cooling system costs about $20. If you do the unsexy habit of changing it every 3 months, the system runs smoothly. If you ignore it, the filter clogs with thick dust. The blower motor now has to work twice as hard to push air through that dirt. First, your monthly electricity bill slowly creeps up without you noticing. Then, because the motor is constantly overheating, the entire $6,000 system burns out years before it should. You did not save $20 by skipping the filter. You burned $6,000. There is no stock market index fund in the world that will give you the guaranteed return on investment of a $20 air filter, a $40 routine car oil change, or spending 10 minutes vacuuming the dust off your refrigerator coils. These boring, 10-minute physical tasks act as a shield, protecting your net worth from catastrophic emergencies. But maintenance is not just about physical machines. It also applies to the invisible contracts that drain your bank account every single month. The absolute worst financial leaks are the ones you just accept as normal because you are too comfortable to question them. This leads to Rule 9, the annual negotiation of fixed costs. I know exactly what you are thinking. Calling customer service is miserable. Waiting on hold, listening to terrible elevator music, dealing with automated menus, and asking a stranger for a lower price triggers major social anxiety for most people. It is deeply unsexy and highly uncomfortable, but let's reframe exactly what is happening. During that phone call, you need to pick one specific day every single year to call your car insurance agent, your internet provider, and your cell phone company. You do not need to be aggressive or rude. You simply tell them you are reviewing your budget, mention that a competitor is offering a lower rate, and ask to speak to their customer retention department. These companies spend hundreds of dollars in marketing just to acquire a single new customer. They know exactly how much it costs to replace you. Because of this, the retention department will almost always offer you a hidden discount to keep you from leaving. Let's look at the actual math of overcoming that social anxiety. If you sit on the phone for 1 hour negotiating your car insurance and internet bills, and you manage to lower them by just $25 a month combined, you just saved $300 for the entire year. By making that one uncomfortable phone call, you literally paid yourself $300 an hour, completely tax-free. Very few people make $300 an hour at their actual day job, but anyone can make it sitting on their couch simply by being willing to do the boring work that everyone else avoids. However, there is a limit to all of this manual effort. Doing the physical maintenance, making the uncomfortable phone calls, carrying physical cash, and fighting the supermarket casino all require your active, conscious energy. And as we established at the very beginning, human beings are fundamentally flawed and lazy. Your willpower will eventually run out. So what do you do when you are simply too tired to make the right financial choice? You paid yourself $300 an hour for that one phone call. But let's be completely honest with ourselves. You cannot do that every single day. Even the most disciplined people get tired. You have a bad day at work, your kids are screaming, your boss was demanding, and you are just physically exhausted. If saving money requires you to open an app, look at a spreadsheet, feel guilty about your spending, and manually transfer $100 while you are feeling completely drained, you will simply not do it. You will ignore the spreadsheet and you will order the expensive takeout instead because you are looking for instant comfort. Manual budgeting fails for almost 90% of people over the long term because it relies on the most fragile thing in the world, which is human willpower. The ultimate unsexy habit is accepting your own human laziness and removing yourself from the equation entirely. This brings us to Rule 10, the automated pay yourself first sweep. Think about what happens when you get paid right now. The money hits your primary checking account. You immediately pay your rent or mortgage. You pay your car payment. You pay your utility bills. Then the month happens. You buy groceries. You go out to eat. You buy a few things online. You fill up your gas tank. At the very end of the month, on on the day before your next paycheck, you look at whatever tiny amount is left over, and you decide to move that into your savings account. Do you see the massive flaw in this system? You are paying everyone else first. You are paying your landlord, your bank, the local restaurant, and the massive online retailers before you ever pay your own future. You are giving your wealth away to other people and keeping the scraps for yourself. We are going to flip that completely. You need to engineer your paycheck so that the very first person who gets paid is you. Vanguard, one of the largest investment companies in the world, publishes a massive data set every year called the How America Saves Report. The data inside proves something incredible. People who manually try to save money, even if they have a very high income, almost always fall behind over a 10-year period. But people who use automated systems build massive, life-changing wealth, even if they only make an average salary. The math is clear. Automated systems beat high-income willpower every single time. Here is the direct explanation of how you set this up. You go into your company's payroll system, or you log into your banking app. You set up a strict rule. The exact second your paycheck clears on a Friday morning, before you even wake up to check your phone, a specific percentage of that money is instantly swept out of your checking account and routed into a separate, hard-to-reach investment account or an index fund. If you can do 20%, do it. If that is too much right now, start with 10%. The psychology behind this is bulletproof. The money vanishes instantly because you never see it sitting in your available checking balance. Your brain never registers that you have it to spend. You cannot miss money that you never felt you had. You will naturally and automatically adjust your lifestyle to live on the remaining amount. If your checking account says you have $800 instead of $1,000, you will skip the expensive dinner because the simple math on your screen forces you to. You do not have to be disciplined anymore. You do not have to be motivated. You literally just have to set the rule one time and then be lazy enough to let the machine run in the background for the next 10 years. This one automated sweep is the absolute fortress of your financial life. It guarantees that no matter how many mistakes you make during the month, no matter how many times you fall for a marketing trick at the supermarket, your wealth is still growing quietly and aggressively in the background. But what is the actual point of all this growing wealth? Why are we doing all these boring, unsexy things, tracking our subscriptions and hiding money from ourselves? This brings us to the final, most important truth about everything we have talked about today. Let's go back to those two living rooms from the very beginning. The person making $110,000 who buys things with one click, never checks their subscriptions, and relies on daily willpower has a house full of very nice things. But they are completely trapped. They need every single dollar of that high salary just to survive their own lifestyle. If their boss becomes toxic, they have to stay and take it. If they lose their job, they are in a massive financial crisis within 3 weeks. Their things actually own them. Now look at the person making $60,000. They are the one doing the unsexy work. They wait 72 hours before buying. They leave their cards at home and carry physical cash to the grocery store. They spend an hour on the phone arguing with their internet provider. They change their air filters, and they have an automated system sweeping 20% of their income away before they ever see it. They do not have the flashy smartwatch or the brand new car. But what they actually bought with those boring habits is something infinitely more expensive and much more rare. They bought optionality. Society constantly tells us that wealth looks like a luxury vehicle, designer clothes, and expensive dinners. But true, mathematical wealth is completely invisible. Optionality is the truest definition of wealth. It is the ability to walk into your manager's office and quit a toxic job because you have 2 years of living expenses sitting in an index fund. It is the freedom to take a month off to care for a sick family member without panicking about how to pay the electric bill. It is the ability to sleep peacefully on a Tuesday night because you know your automated fortress is handling your future. When you adopt these 10 habits, you are not punishing yourself. You are not living a life of deprivation or suffering. You are simply realizing that a temporary hit of dopamine at the checkout line is not worth trading away your life choices. You are choosing your future freedom over a present distraction. Boring habits by exciting freedoms. Doing the unsexy work in the shadows allows you to live your actual life without the constant heavy weight of financial fear. The math is brutal for people who fall into the consumer trap, but it works completely in your favor the moment you decide to introduce a little bit of friction into your spending. Here at this channel, our entire mission is to help you build that exact kind of freedom. We want to break down the complicated, hidden rules of money into simple, everyday steps so you can take full control of your financial reality. If you are ready to stop paying double for everything and want to continue building your automated wealth, subscribing to the channel joins you with a community of everyday earners doing the exact same thing. Keep your systems rigid, keep your money yours, and I will see you in the next one.